Happy holidays. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Happy holidays to you too. I'm so happy to be here with you today and so
Oh,
excited to come to do Disney Princess the concert.
we are so excited, but I've got to ask you about the Disney princesses because technically you are not a Disney princess.
Oh, yes, it is quite a drama, but technically now I kind of am because 20th Century Fox was purchased by Disney. So
Oh,
Disney now owns Anastasia, the classic that we all know and love.
well, then you'll
So
get
it's
to be a ride. At some point, you'll be a ride, right?
Yes, at some point, Anastasia will be a ride. Anastasia will get their own live action movie. Like it's going to be a thing. It's just taking some time. It's just in the works.
This is preview of coming attractions, is what it amounts to.
Exactly. Really, that's all it is.
Can I ask you about Anastasia? How did you get involved? Because I mean, you were in that for a long time.
Yes. So I had audition. It started many years actually before when I was doing Mamma Mia on Broadway. They were doing a reading of it, and I auditioned. And one of the guys, Aaron Lazar, who played one of my dads in the show, got the reading as Gleb. And I was like, darn, I didn't get the reading. And then a year later, when I was out of Mamma Mia, I got asked to audition again. And the first time it was because I couldn't hit the high note in my dreams. The second time I went in, I couldn't. I looked too young, they said, because I went in with flats. And then the third time I went in was the final callback for the out of town tryout in Hartford stage. And I didn't even know. I just knew I was going in again. And so I walked in and they were like, we've seen you before, just do the material. And this time I wore heels to like kind of give myself, and I was older. And the next day I got the call that I got the part, which was
Oh,
super cool.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, so it's heels and aging that really get you parts.
And also doing your craft, I couldn't hit that. I didn't have that high note perfect. And I kept training on my belting, and I was able to do it at that point. And actually, I think I belted higher than that when I went in. And I was like, is that it? And they're like, no, it's lower than that. So it was great. Yeah, it's the craft. It's
It
loving the craft.
lasted so long on Broadway too.
Yeah, 2 years. Uh, but it was such a whirlwind experience. Everybody in the show is so amazing. I got to work with Lynn Ahrens and Stephen Flaherty. I got to work with Darko, who was just off the heels of Gentleman's Guide for Love and Murder, that Tony win. And yeah, every single person. And Ramin
Mary
Karimloo
Beth
played my
Peel, come on.
Mary. Yes, Mary Beth Peel, the great Mary Beth Peel. And Derek Klena, who played my love interest, Caroline O'Connor, who is basically the Patti LuPone of Australia. She just hops from show to show to show. She's huge over there and now huge over here. So she's just amazing. Yeah.
Wow, that is so cool. Now tell me, you were in, is it The Wanderers? Is that what it was called?
Yeah. So I was lucky enough this year to get to work on two shows that are hoping to go to Broadway at some point. One of them is The Wanderer, which is all about the Dion
Dion.
DiMucci.
Yeah.
Dion, yes, I love Dion. He wrote the song Run Around Sue, and he wrote the song The Wanderer. And he has tons and tons and tons of songs that he kind of made famous, that he either worked with other people or other people gave him the song. But he's amazing, amazing human, very inspirational. And he was very involved in the whole process. Him and Stephen Van Sant from Bruce Springsteen's
Sure.
band.
Sure.
Huge part of our show. And we had the amazing Joey McIntyre from New Kids on the Block was in it. And I got to play Sue, Run Around Sue, the
Of course
girlfriend
you were.
that
Come
then,
on. Right.
and it was it was really great. Yeah, it was a beautiful show. And so, yeah, we did it at the Paper Mill to pretty much sold out houses every night. And during after COVID times, that's kind of rare. So we felt really good about it. We got a pretty good review in the New York Times. And the hope is, the big problem was there just weren't theaters open. Like theaters weren't available because there were so many shows in the queue for the Broadway houses. So we're just hoping like the right timing will happen where we can slot in. And then other than that, I'm working on this other show called noir, which is based off of the genre film noir, and Darko Treshnik is directing it, and it's a brand new score by Duncan Sheik, who
Oh,
wrote I Am Barely Breathing and Spring Awakening, and Kyle Jarrow, who did the book of SpongeBob. So we went to Houston this year, and we did we did a show of it for
sure.
3 months, but they're still working on it, and they're going to do a workshop in January that I'm going to be a part of, and just hopeful. We're hopeful for the future.
Oh, you
Yeah,
did two at once. This could be
I
big.
know. And
That,
then I'm touring with the princesses. It's like the best time of my life.
it can't get any more hectic. How was that whole COVID time for you? Did you go, uh-oh, we're not coming back? Or how did you react to it?
I always feel like there's no way to not react to it, right? We all had something that was a challenge for us. For me, professionally, I was one of the lucky ones because I had just finished Anastasia. So people kind of knew who I was, and I went straight into the teaching sector while all of the gigs I had lined up imploded, didn't happen. They ended up happening again once things opened up again. So I got to do a lot of the stuff I was slated to do and then couldn't do. And then during that time, I just started private coaching and private teaching. And then teaching paired with companies who started up a lot of Zoom teaching and were able to make like really good money. Now, people are back to school, but it felt like a double thing because I was teaching, doing something that made me happy, and in a way, providing a service for so many kids who didn't get to go to prom, who didn't
Oh,
get to be social in general, and needed that boost to remind themselves that they're on the right path. It's just not the time right now. Yeah.
how do you tell them though that there is a future in this business, especially when it seems so iffy?
Well, I think for me, I personally in my career have been through so many ups and downs. And the same way I have, so has the Broadway community been through so many ups and downs. It's happened, every summer. It's like if a show doesn't go well, like, how many shows close, and everyone's like, oh,
Right.
all the shows are closing. But the power of the craft itself and live theater itself, there's no way it will ever go away because there's nothing like that experience. And there were so many new works that we're working on because at that same time it was paired with Black Lives Matter. And while that was such a tumultuous thing, the birth seeds of that were people being recognized for their art. And I knew on my end, okay, people that are now, people that are on the spectrum are getting their arts, like their shows that they were working on, really looked at. People who are African American, people who are Asian, people of all diverse cultures were writing and creating about their life experiences, and there were readings happening, Zoom readings everywhere. So I knew it was going to come back. It was just a matter of time. And actually it was really exciting because not long, like once the first round of like super intense things kind of lifted, the city of New York actually did get better, a lot better. So it just took that little bit of time. So yes, continuing to remind them things are happening. It's just behind the scenes.
What was the first thing you were back in that you performed in during that whole kind of period? Do you remember what it was?
Yes, actually, this is kind of random, but I was asked to go down to Boca Raton to teach. And all of these kids from the North came down to Florida, and we wore N95s the entire time. We were in these massive ballrooms, and I was able to teach from afar. But I was there, and we did a very, very safe, nobody got COVID. It was super safe. Obviously nothing is foolproof, but it was as safe as it could humanly be. And there was a performance at the end where we all wore masks. Like every kid had like a face shield on and a mask. And
Wow.
we performed on a stage. And I went out and all I had to do was sing like a little bit of I Have a Dream from Mamma Mia and Journey to the Past. And I cannot tell you how much I was shaking because I was like to physically, because I'd done a lot of virtual things, but
Sure.
to physically be on a stage again, I was literally like shaking. And I was there with Samantha from Six, Sam, I'm forgetting her last name. She's amazing. But she was there with me and she had the same experience. We both were like shaking and she's like, I took the mic and I just held it strong. And she was, but
Oh,
it's so funny because then since that moment, I've done so many shows since, like concerts and things and performances of all types. And it was fun for me to see everyone have that first moment back for them, because there's always one in every show I did. I'd come back and I'd be like, is this your first one back since the big apocalypse? And they're
right.
all like, yeah, and they're shaking. And these are like Broadway stars. People have been Tony nominated, Tony award winning. Like these are big names, and they haven't. We're used to always being warm in our
Sure,
craft. So when
sure.
they were like shaking in the back, and they just needed that one show to go, okay, I got this.
I remember going to the first show during that, after that time. And I sat there and I thought, are we back? And then I started to cry because I thought, it could go away on us. And it means so much to me. And I thought, how can we do this?
Yeah.
And, now it's like, okay, we're good. At least I
Yeah,
hope.
it was a really scary time. It really was. But I mean, like I said, there were so many people that were writing at that time. I mean, during that time, I wrote a whole album of singer-songwriter music and came out with it. And that was just me. Like there's people that just love writing and they finally were given the opportunity. I know people who have started full-on businesses. Like while it was such a dark time, you could use it for good.
Or you could eat a lot like I did. And then you just, there it goes. We kind of lost a little something there, but there you are. Well, okay, in the Princesses show, what do you do? What songs do you do?
Okay, so what we are is a celebration of all the Disney princesses. The show isn't just for kids, it's for adults too. And when you think about it, I'm in my 30s. When I was young, I was into Ariel, I was into Anastasia, all of those. And so it really celebrates all of the princesses. So it's very accessible and for older generations as well. So it's 4 Broadway princesses. So you have Cindy Winters, who was Nala on Broadway. You have Izzy McCalla, who was played Jasmine on Broadway, as well as is going to play Megra in Hercules on Broadway in the coming years.
Really? Oh, how
Well,
cool.
they haven't said Broadway yet, but it's like going to be such a big deal. They're doing Hercules at the Paper Mill, and they haven't announced that, but there's that feeling of like, it's Disney. They're working on this project. The chances, but you never know. Obviously, anything's possible,
Right.
but we have high hopes that might get to go.
Sure.
And then I did Anastasia, and we have Annalisa Vanderpool, who was in Raven's Home and That's So Raven. And she also was the last Belle in Beauty and the Beast on Broadway. So all 4 of us take our Broadway experience and we do all of the princesses. So I do The Little Mermaid and Rapunzel and Anastasia. And then Cindy does Tiana and Anna and Nala, so you go down the line, Belle, and, so we all do all the characters and we celebrate them as if we are a fan along with the people in the audience. So we encourage people to dress up in their best royal attire, whatever that means to you. You can come just normal. You can come with some glam and some flash.
Or the crown.
Or the crown, or
Yeah.
the full on I am a princess today, and that is more than welcome. So whatever you want, you're welcome. And you can sing throughout the whole show if you want, like sing along with us. And we'll just bring our best performance to this character with what our craft and the material we've been given. Yeah.
But you only have one prince, right?
Yes, and he kind of floats in and out. There's not that many duets. It's like 3 duets. We do part of your no, A Whole New World, and the light. I See the Light from Rapunzel, and there's one other. Oh, Love is an Open Door. So he'll like come in and out, and he'll play the part of the prince. And our handsome prince is amazing. His name's Adam J. Levy, and he just came off the heels of doing Moulin Rouge. So you have like this powerhouse group of people that just jump in. And what's great about this organization that, we're partnered with Disney, and Pandora's our sponsor and all of that. And it's created by also people who love Broadway. And, Ben Rauhala started at 54 Below in these tiny cabaret spaces doing these Disney princess parties with all Broadway stars. And so now they have this roster of Broadway professionals who can jump in at any time. So if I do book a show or something, that's not in my contract. Like if I book a show like down the line, I'll go do that. And someone else will go in. So you'll have another Broadway star who was in something talking about their experience on Broadway and then singing their song and stuff like that.
So, okay, who was your princess? Who did you really like growing up?
I grew up with Ariel. I mean, that was my number one. And I think at the time she came out, and then there was like months like that or years that like she was the only princess for a minute. It wasn't like right away they switched to Belle.
No, it's Jasmine. It's Jasmine.
So we kind of like, she was the one for a minute, and then Jasmine, and then, Belle, and it just went down the line of.
Did you ever get to play her? Did you audition for it?
Okay. It was always my dream to play Ariel. I love that part. I've connected with it so much. But I auditioned many times, and every time I made it to like the very bitter end, and I'd find out like this other girl already had the part, but they just held auditions anyway. You know how they have to do that sometimes, and you just be like, no, like I'm so close.
I wore heels. Come on, right?
No, I wore flats, like I guess because Ariel's kind of
she's got a fin, right?
But someday, even if I don't play her, what I love about this show is that I get to be her on stage, in this version, which is really cool. I get to.
Well, then how much do you, like, will you wear some colors that match these characters, or is that going too far?
So what we do is we like to say like we become the characters in our acting in the show, but we don't literally transform into the character. So we have an outfit that we wear that's really pretty and cute and sparkly in Act 1, and then we have like a very regal princess look in Act 2. That is also wonderful. So the girls the color scheme doesn't always match up, but the heart and what we put into it does. So
you all get to sing together or not?
Yes, there's a lot of 4-part harmony in the show, which Ben Rauhala put together, and some of them are going viral. We put one of our videos up of us doing Let It Go, and actually I think it was oh my gosh, The Little Mermaid, the original Little Mermaid. Who am I thinking? My brain is so tired from Thanksgiving.
You're not talking Jodie Benson.
Jodie Benson.
Okay.
So Jodie Benson was a surprise for our Orlando show. And so she stood on the side of the stage, and I think it was her that like filmed a little bit of it. And it was us singing Let It Go. And then Ben put it on TikTok, and it ended up like kind of blowing up, which was really cool. But it's those arrangements. You have never heard it in 4-part harmony before, and there's so many of those songs that are iconic that you love, and hearing it with our mix and the 4-part. And Ben is a stickler for like, okay, remember this moment, remember that moment. We're always getting notes in a good way, because he wants it to be tight every show, which is great.
Well, now when you were on Broadway with Anastasia, how did the little girls react to you? I'm sure they waited by the stage door. And what is that experience like? Stuff? Yeah.
I loved doing the stage door so much. It was the byproduct. I always loved doing the stage door, but getting to play Anastasia doing the stage door was a surreal experience, because you already had these people who grew up with the animated film. They loved it, and they were coming back to relive that experience. And then you had people who genuinely love musical theater and just wanted to meet me. And then you had people who just saw a show and they're a fan of the show that they had just seen. And so the mix of all of that and what Anastasia represents, which is courage, strength, kindness, moving forward, and just being an all-around good person while she does it, and is strong against, all odds. Sure. And she has a lot of odds against her. That's a great kind of role model for anyone. And so you feel this need to uphold that even when you're not the character in a way. So I would try to do that. I try to, encourage people to go after their dreams at the stage door. I'd sing with them a lot of the time. And they would they knew I love candy. So I get a lot of candy at the stage door, which was really fun. And I'd share it with the cast. And then there was back in the day.
Right?
Yes. Yes. Thank you. One of the things that they don't do anymore, I think because of COVID, is you were able to take your friends and family backstage and walk around. And show them the actual stage and show them the backstage area and like have a moment with them, which I don't know if they're doing that anymore yet or if it's back. But when that did happen, a lot of times people would bring their friends and family back and they'd all congregate on the stage. And I used to get a plethora of crowns. Like we would buy them from China, I think. I don't know. We just got these like really nice like metal crowns with like sparkles on them.
Yeah.
And whenever I saw a kid on stage, my dressing room was like right off to the side. I would be like, come here. And I'd take them to the dressing room. I'd tell them to close their eyes and I'd pull out the crown and I'd say, okay, you can open your eyes now. And I'd tell them they're an honorary Anastasia. And then they look into the mirror, they'd look at it shine, and then we take a picture. And that was really fun for me to get to like do that for kids.
Did you save anything from the show where you go, all right, this is my remembrance of Anastasia?
I saved everything. I saved everything. Every gift anyone ever gave me, every stuffed animal, all my artwork, everything. We saved it. For a long time, it was in my parents' house, but now that I'm married, a lot of it is in my house with my husband now. And we have some, larger things in a, locked away in a, what is it? A storage unit.
Yeah. Where the mice can get to, but that's okay. That's all right.
Yeah, we did the best we could. It's like sealed in boxes, fingers crossed it'll make it through. Yeah.
Well, did you believe that she was Anastasia? Did you have to do that to sell it, or what?
The show itself, as far as like in the show itself, I believe it was Anastasia. Absolutely 100%. And also in the show, she has these memories that she wouldn't have been able to have otherwise. The memory of her being in this parade and seeing this boy bow to her. And, there's so many, and then the whole memory with her grandmother. What's kind of cool about the Ingrid Bergman movie that's in black and white is that it is a little bit more leaves it up to chance of, I'm not sure, but if I'm wrong, the grandma's like, I don't want to know. But I like the fairy tale in that it really is her. And she's doing the best she can to stay strong, to survive. And she didn't really want to be a princess. She really just wanted her home and her love and her like home, love, family. That's what it's all about.
Sure. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Doing Broadway is a goal for so many young people. Just like, it's the ultimate. Yeah. How much is that true, or is it a job?
I think you know the answer to that too. It is just, it is cool to be on Broadway, to say you've been on Broadway, but at the end of the day, the show itself is no different than any other professional show you'd ever do. Me going down to Houston to do Noir felt exactly like what it feels like to be on Broadway. You know what I mean? Every show as to a professional level, right? You could do summer stocks where you're literally building the set. That's not going to feel like when you're on Broadway, because you're building the sets, you're building the costumes. It's a whole other ball of wax, but it's also very cool. So if you have a chance to do summer stock shows, you absolutely should. But other than that, if you're just going to just be the actress in a show or an actor in a show, that, you can get that feeling with a professional show, and it's the same thing, but what
did you realize though? Was there something about Broadway that you go, oh, I didn't know that, or I didn't expect that?
Yeah, I think it's different though, because the way that the industry appreciates shows is different than the way the layman would, which is weird. But it's like, for example, when I did Mamma Mia, I was like the 14th Sophie or something. And all of my friends and family were like, oh my gosh, you're playing Sophie in Mamma Mia? What? You've made it, girl. And in the meantime, the industry's like, you're the 14th Sophie, And they're just like, that's cool, but like, whatever, you know. But then you originate a role where it's the first year of something, and there, you know, because I had done Mamma Mia first, so I was like, oh, this is really just like jumping into a show and doing my show. And then when you originate a role on Broadway, it's a totally different vibe, because you have all of your friends and family being like, you're gonna be in a show on Broadway, and then you have the whole industry being like, you're gonna be in a show, like we're watching you. You know,
I love it. I love
there's
it.
a lot more eyes on you. It's a lot more like pressure. You definitely feel like you want to do your best. But I always said to myself, if I was ever put in that position, I would want to have no regrets. So I woke up every morning going, I'm going to do as best as I humanly can with this part. And some people might say it was obsessively crazy how hard I worked on it, but I think that that's what you have to do, because not everybody's given their moment in the sun like that. So actually, I lie. Everyone's given their moment in the sun, but to play the lead in a Broadway show, the girl, it's not always the, you know, where your character name is the name of the show. So there was a little bit more. I don't want to have any regrets with the work ethic and the time I put on this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When you did things, I'm sure you did the Thanksgiving parade, right?
Yes. And that was crazy. Because they decided to do Once Upon a December. And then they had little bits of other melodic moments in the show, but it was mostly Once Upon a December. And do you want to know about that? Do you want to know about?
Yeah. Yes.
The cool thing that I did not realize about, because I grew up watching all the Thanksgiving
Right.
Day, literally all of them. And it's so cool to watch when you're watching it on camera. And in your mind, don't you kind of feel like, I know you know they're not walking down the parade route, but in your mind, don't you feel like there's a route in front of you in your head? You think that it's like this big avenue and they're performing somewhere in the middle of an avenue. That's not what it is. You're on a tiny side street, and in front of you is not nothing. It's the next block, right? Because it's literally just, you're between both, you know, on the street, you're standing this way, and then on the other side on the sidewalk is all cameras, and there's tons and tons of cameras and big monitors, and the monitors are large, and they're all playing what is happening on the TV. So when the song comes, if you choose to, you can watch yourself performing the entire thing as you're performing it.
Oh,
So you sort of have to
wow.
block it out of your head and just like kind of soft gaze your eyes, so you can stay connected to what's happening and the acting of it, because otherwise you are looking at yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, wow. That is like very kind of surreal, isn't it?
It's not what you would think at all. And it's freezing, but that's what you would imagine. It's cold.
I went to the parade once, and I'll never go again, because what I realized is, yeah, you need something to drink while you're standing there, but it's like 3 hours and there's no bathroom anywhere to go to. And so you think, what am I going to do? I'm going to lose my spot if I move. I can't. And it's just torture.
Yes.
So it's a lot better at home.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot better at home. And also, if you get a chance to be in it, it's just so cool. It's totally a unique experience. But it's what's cool is growing up and then doing it, and you're like, this is totally different than what I thought it would be. But it's cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, is there anything on the list that you have to check off yet? You haven't done?
I guess no. I mean, not in musical theater world. Actually, I lied. I would love love to write a musical someday.
Oh,
That's
well,
what
do it. Come on. We
I
don't
want
need
to write.
another pandemic for that to happen.
Yeah. And I haven't done that yet. And I need to like get a writing partner. I need to write a musical with this person, and I need to, you know, like someone who can write the script and I'll write the music. And if there's anyone out there, that's the next step for me. Yeah.
Putting it out there so it happens, right?
Along with performing and doing all of this, that would be a fun other thing to
You've
do.
got to do it all. And then the movie version, and there's a lot there. You know, we're going to unpack it all, right?
I'll have me do the movie version of Anastasia, but it's just cool. Yeah.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Hey, thank you so much. I'm dying to see the show. I waited, you know, you were canceled the year before. You were supposed to come, and then the pandemic stopped everything.
See, that was another one of my yes. And so gigs kept coming up, and then they were like, we can't because of COVID. We can't because of COVID. And then see, here we are. So everything happens how it's meant.
Well, if you hear somebody really loud singing along with you, it's me.
I
It's me.
can't wait. I hope we get to see you after somehow. Maybe give you a hug.
Well, oh, that'd be so great. And I must tell you that Ron Clements, who directed The Little Mermaid, is from Sioux City. And somewhere in the building, you will see Ron's name because I think he signed the wall.
Oh, I'm sure I will find it for sure.
So I'm counting on you. But anyway, you can phone it in all the time until you get here, and then you better do really a great job.
No, this is going to be my #1 city. I'm going to put all my heart and soul into this performance.
I'm counting on. Well, have a great rest of the weekend, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This was a lovely interview. Thank you.
Oh, you're fun. All right. Have a good one.
Have a good one. Bye.